I call this meeting of the Laconia School Board to order for Tuesday, October 4th, 2022. Notice of posting, please.
The agenda was posted on Friday, September 30th, 2022 at the SAU office on the district's website. It was sent to each of our schools, the Laconia Daily Sun, Laconia Library, and to Laconia City Hall.
Please rise for the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, with liberty and justice for all.
Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor? 6-0. We have a motion to approve the minutes of September 20th.
Make the motion.
Do we have a second? Thank you. Any other discussion? Okay. All in favor? Against?
Abstain.
There we go. Thank you. 5-0 passes. Well, sir, item number 4, we have a presentation from the elementary kindergarten team.
Sure. So we have with us the elementary administrative team in the back, but they're going to yield the floor to our 7, right? We have 7, 8. We're 3. Wait, right, because we have 3, 3, and 2. Got it. We have 8 outstanding kindergarten teachers who are here to talk a little bit about their start of the year, their work as a team. And also thought it would be important for you to know a little bit about who they are. So without any further ado, thank you for being here. We yield the floor to you.
Do you want to?
Are you standing?
Yeah. No, you know.
Yes.
It's funny how the kindergarten presentations look very different than the high school presentations.
I hope so. Something seriously wrong.
Well, good evening. We are the kindergarten team across the district from Woodland Heights, Pleasant Street, and Elm Street. I don't know this control. Oh, thank you. See, here we go. I'll start. I'll just introduce ourselves. So I am part of the Elm Street team. I'm Jessica Cardinal. Actually, I'm one of the ones I've been here the longest, 22 years, going on, and 11 years in first grade and 11 years in kindergarten this year. We have Emily Mooneyhan in the back here, 9th year in kindergarten, and Liz Weeks, 14 years in kindergarten. And then we have our Pleasant Street team, and that's Caitlin Friend here in the back, 13 years for her, 11 years teaching kindergarten, first grade, and multi-age. And we have Alex Gench right here. She's taught 4 years, this is her 4th year. She's taught pre-K in kindergarten, and she also student taught in Pleasant Street School with Kate. And then we have Woodland Heights team, Holly Knowles right here, 20 years in primary, kindergarten, and first grade. Pam McCullough, 20 years also teaching kindergarten and first grade. And Madison Vincent, last but not least, 6 years in kindergarten.
So I'm going to start with why we are such a strong, cohesive kindergarten team. So we have had lots of years, as you can see, in kindergarten, pre-K, and first grade. So most of our experience stems from those primary years. We've also worked together as a team for many years. So some of us have gone to first grade and then come back, or gone down to pre-K and come back. But we worked together as a team for numerous years. We're also really willing to jump in and try new things. We often are given new curriculum or different strategies to use. And we all really like to try new things. We find that we're not very stuck in our way. And as everything changes, we like to just jump in and try it. Yeah, and to piggyback off of that, we just see a value in working together and being cohesive so that no matter which school you attend, all of our Laconia kindergartners are receiving similar educations and experiences. We trust each other since we have been working together for so long. And we just value everyone's thoughts. So no matter what workshop you go to and come back and give us your feedback, like what Liz said, we're just willing to work together and try out new things in our own classroom. And we trust that. You guys are gonna back it up.
It's just we have a lot of benefits of working together so closely, but we've highlighted some of those benefits and they're that we've developed cross-district year goals. And this year's our first year that we all have the same goal. So we're all focusing on the same end. We share ideas and problem solve as a team, which of course benefits our children of Laconia.
And all of our students benefit from, similar experiences throughout all of the kindergarten classrooms. And our knowledge grows and deepens through our time together and, the time that we get to share and our teamwork together. So that's important.
Yes, and we're also able to share materials and curriculum ideas across the schools, which benefits all of our students. And this year, our daily schedules aligned, so that allows for common meeting times and also district-wide PLC.
Just out of curiosity, the first item up there was that you've developed yearly goals as a team. So
We're going to get into that.
okay.
That's the next one. And Caitlin will help you with that. There's a lot of words here. I'm not going to read them all to you, but in the past, we have always had one common grade level goal for our kindergarten district team. This year, we decided to have 3. Our first goal that we're focusing on this year is based on oral language, how the kids speak and understand spoken language, how they speak with each other, how they have conversations. This is something that we have worked on at Pleasant Street, but it will be something that the other schools will work on this year as well. For this year, we'll all become familiar with the text, the record of oral language, and how to administer that assessment. We've already started doing that now. For next year, we will implement 2 instructional practices and see the benefit of that along with analyzing the data. And the third year, we'll add 1 more instructional practice and continue the assessments and then reflect on which of those assessments were most effective. So our goal is hopefully we will see a 10% increase in student achievement based on those record of oral language scores.
And this is our second goal. This is our play-based goal that we came up with. It's actually a New Hampshire law to have play-based kindergarten. So we felt that this was important. We decided to align this with the portrait of a graduate skills that the whole district is working on. We felt that it was important to include those because the skills, as I'm sure you all know, are problem solving, collaboration, communication, all those things that are happening in play and we can support through play as teachers. So this year we are creating a rubric for the portrait of a graduate skills and beginning to assess during play. And we will continue to add on to that. And by the end, hopefully we will see a 20% increase in proficiency in POG skills.
And then our third goal that we have is based around math, also with play and with hands-on materials. So we use Eureka Math Engage New York. So with using the visual models, using fingers, 10 frames, number lines, number bonds, the students will develop a strong understanding of early numeracy skills. For next year, they'll still continue to use those visual models, and we will use our training with Carolyn Worcester to create some lessons that work with those structured math blocks to help the students get that structured understanding of those skills. Continuing with the models in the third year and then reflecting on which was the most effective in our continued practices. And our hope is that our students will meet the acceptable growth within the FastBridge assessment at the end of the year, which is something that FastBridge can calculate for us, which is helpful.
Caitlin, just so everybody understands, can you explain or just quickly say what Engage New York and Eureka is?
Sure. Anybody? Or me? Go ahead. Yeah, it's our math. It's kind of a guide that we're using. And Carolyn basically takes the Engage New York program and she kind of breaks it down into a more simplistic format. So she takes out like a daily fluency piece. So she's saying, in the Engage New York curriculum is very lengthy and very wordy. So she basically breaks it down and says, okay, for a fluency piece, maybe pick 1 or 2 fluency things that you're going to do daily. So flashing fingers, how many fingers am I holding up? How many fingers am I holding up? And that one-to-one correspondence. And then she has a concept development, a small group section. So she has a really nice lesson plan template that we can take those Engage New York lessons and break them down into less wordy, more kid focused. And what do you notice? What do you wonder? As opposed to like, the teacher says something and then the kids say it, and it's more teacher driven Engage New York. And Carolyn is working with us to get it to be more student driven. So you put up numbers on the board and they're, what do you notice? What do you wonder? And they're talking to a partner about what they notice and wonder and then sharing out.
And also I think more hands-on and less worksheets. So they're using manipulatives, they're using the tools, they're manipulating things instead of just doing a paper and pencil task.
Thank you.
That's all we have. Any questions?
Is there a particular method that you use to be able to create your expectation for the growth for like whether it's 10% for oral language or 20% for the play-based instruction? Is it guided by anything, or is it just this is what we're hoping for?
So do you mean which is like by the assessment, or is
For
that
the end of the school year, the growth?
So we're using the record of oral language assessment, for example, for that one. The 10% growth is from the beginning of the year to the end of the year, and that is what would be considered acceptable growth
Oh, okay.
for the students.
Okay.
I don't have a question. I just want to say you're all wonderful. I love seeing this collaboration from the whole district together. I think it's awesome. And I see you guys work together and it's just great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So is this like supported cross or district PLC time, a new opportunity that you have this year?
Yes.
We're very excited.
I think that was a big driving force on why we wanted to do common goals, because we do have this district time together, so we can kind of touch base with each other, and it just made sense to be all on the same page since we get to be together more often.
And even if we had to have an impromptu meeting like we had to have last week when we learned we were invited to come to this, we all wanted to meet and discuss, and we can't always all do that outside of school hours. So it was nice that we had that opportunity to all be available at that same time.
Our line schedule works nicely for things like that to happen. Our goals in the past, though, I have to say, have always been very similar. So this year was really nice when we went to try to work it in as one goal across the district. There's same goal across the district, and it was really easy because we had very similar goals, and we just had to do some tweaking of words and stuff. So we've been on the same page for quite a few years.
Right. And I just feel like we kind of have that mentality of like, work smarter, not harder necessarily, as far as like, if we're all having a common goal, then if we create an assessment, it's not 3 schools creating a different assessment. If we create one assessment and we all use it, but that's hard if you don't trust your team. So knowing each other really well, knowing that we have a strong primary background really helps. And like if Caitlin and Alex create something at Pleasant Street and they're like, try this, we're like, okay, we don't nitpick it and say, oh, I don't know about that, because we're really on the same page, which is nice.
You can feel it. It's noticeable. You can see the energy and the positivity, and the collaboration is very much comes through. And I'm sure that's picked up by everyone that you're working with. So it's very impressive.
I'm just really excited for you because you exactly, it's the same thing. You can feel that you're excited about what you're doing, and that's important. You're engaged in where you're at. And our kids are lucky to have that.
I think it's, we have 2 district goals around portrait of graduate instruction. We've had those goals for the past 3 years. We will continue with those. And what you saw is a team that has 3 goals that each centers on instruction. And there's 1 goal that focuses on instruction and portrait of a graduate. And the idea of having the pre and the post, the pre-measure at the beginning of the year and the post measure is a great way to assess growth. And when you walk into a kindergarten classroom in September versus April or May, it's it's amazing. It is amazing to see the growth of our kindergarten kids. And I think we're really excited about the work you're doing. September 13th was our 4th in-service day. And you spent some time as a team to, I think, flesh out those goals, right? To hone them. And we've talked a little bit about collective teacher efficacy, the idea of teachers are working together toward a common goal that kids do better. And this is a great example of this. And what I meant by the presentation being different than high school, there's pictures of kids and you. And I think that we all appreciate that.
One question. I love the fact that you guys are using the same tool for assessments because that makes it easy. So if you see that, you all have the same thing with the assessment, not what you expect. You can go back, okay, what do we need to fix to make sure that the kids are getting what they need? Does that help you guys a lot?
Yeah, anytime we're on a common, using a common assessment and we can bounce it off of each other saying, oh, I'm noticing this isn't working. What can we tweak on this? Or maybe it's working well in another classroom and not mine. I can go and observe another classroom. We can help each other out so much just by having common language and common assessments across the board.
Great. And that, I'm sure that makes it easier for you guys. You're not, like I said, reinventing the wheel.
Yeah.
Exactly. No one likes to do that. Thank you, ladies.
Yeah.
Anything else from the board? Questions or comments? Thank you very much for being here. Great job.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah. 8 teachers.
Yeah, I was like, wait a minute, we had anything.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the entire administrative team.
Yeah.
So, says a lot.
Okay, so board committee reports. First up, budget and personnel.
Great. We met on September 26th and we went over budget transfer. There are no budget transfers to date. Superintendent Tucker went over policy KCD, was also mentioned at our previous school board meeting. Diane gave an update on the extraordinary needs grants, and there is a plan to spend $367,000 to improve test scores as a measurement of its success. The city council does have to approve the supplement appropriation to use these funds. And then also went over the FY23 budget. The leadership team is going to develop a template to update the committee and budget. We've had a few, just a couple open items. We just did a recap of the COVID stipends. The SAU informed the committee that there are staff members paid to oversee co-curricular activities that are part of the LEA and the CBA and other school activity stipends out of the 21st Century Learning Grant. Tonight up for discussion and action is the LMS Music Department award for Peter Marsh Foundation for the middle school. And then Superintendent Tucker, along with Assistant Superintendent Hines and Diane, went over PTAs and PTOs within our school district.
Our next meeting is October 17th at noon time.
Facilities.
So last meeting, we went over the SAU project and the conceptual approved by the DOE, sorry. And the next steps were reviewed for the final approval by NHDOE. Went over a project list. There's nothing standing out on that. And we have an open item of the school emergency plans that's due by October 15th. And our next meeting is tentative of next Friday at 12.
Well,
Which 12? Okay.
yeah,
Both of mine are next week, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. Close enough.
yeah, the other meeting's at 12:15.
Stole your thunder.
Policy chair Drola isn't here.
We're scheduled to meet next week on Wednesday, Tuesday. There you go.
Strategic planning.
We have not met since our last board meeting. We are scheduled for next week, Thursday at 12:15.
Very good. Board member input.
I just wanted to comment on the homecoming parade and football game. It was great. We have a standing tradition of watching the parade, and this year we were able to participate in the parade. And it was a great opportunity. I thank Mr. McCollum and his team for inviting the elementary schools and middle school to participate. And it was just great to see. And I don't know how many fans were at the football game, but it was a lot. And it was just really great to see the community come out and support our students. So.
To piggyback on that, I did not get to go. I had to work. My daughter said there were more parents and adult fans in the stands, and the students had to stand up and go sit on the grass. So I'm like, you're young, you'll adjust. So yeah, it was a great turnout. I was getting updated text messages all night long.
I also watched the homecoming parade. It was great. I also want to say that last Thursday, went to the school wellness fair, and it was great to see the school and community engaged, and just the general vibe in the building and having it again was really fun to see.
Okay. Board chair report and calendar. There's only a few things here that I wanted to sort of echo, which would be in terms of homecoming. I thought for starters, the spirit of the parade was unbelievable. The crowds along the way, the participants in the parade, having representation from all the different levels, the different schools, having the chiefs marching in there, having a number of teams, as well as also the jobs they did on the floats were outstanding. Great theme, great participation. All of the antique cars that were trailing behind them. It just, the opportunity to see that kind of community pride and spirit was great. And even then, parents who maybe were watching the parade and their kids were walking in the parade, the kids were having so much fun, even at the high school, getting set up for it, getting excited to walk in, coming back and chasing each other all around the parking lot, just being kids and having fun was so exciting to see. And for everyone who was involved in getting those kids out there, thank you. It really was a magical afternoon with the number of people that came out for that parade. And I hope we're starting a new tradition of homecoming as much being a celebration of 9th, 10th, and 11th grade, being a celebration of Laconia schools. And other than that, I wasn't able to make the homecoming football game. But on the other hand, the next day, the cross country meet. Awesome.
You were going to
Oh, wait. No, it was was last Friday. Confusing my date.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, excellent job by Coach Lindbergh. The kids ran hard. It's a tough course, but always fun.
And I know the Saturday games for homecoming. The stands are pretty busy and pretty packed.
Yep.
Got to watch my daughter play with me Saturday, so it's like, yay. So it worked out well. It was nice to see everybody coming together.
So second thing, I just wanted the board to have an update from Board Member Dunn, who is our representative at the New Hampshire School Boards Association delegation meeting.
Yep, so I went Saturday and there was 49 members there from boards. There was, I think, 80 to 85 attending the delegation, but from representatives from the boards, there was 49, so it was nice. And then in regards to the resolution, so just quickly, number one, it went with the NHSBA language. And then number two, so like everything that we had voted on as a board, it went with. Number three, the same thing. Number four, the dairy was the resolution about the food insecurity. I was talking to Aaron earlier and told him that the NHSBA did not support this, but it actually passed. And I wonder if we had more information that I had at the meeting, if our vote would have been different. But it said that there's 3 continuing resolutions that address school funding, but other delegates that were there asked specifically if it's anything specific to food, or if it's just school funding generally, and it's nothing specific to the food. So I just thought that was interesting to kind of get that information at the assembly and stuff. There was only 4 delegates that voted that way. So it was great. I mean, so the resolution passed for the food insecurity, and we'll see where that goes. And then number 5, same thing, the way that the board did vote. Number 6 as well. And then number 7 passed as well. So that was the NHSBA not support. And this was the resolution calling for compliance with federal laws. And that passed 25 to 21. So it was very close, but it did pass. And number 8 also went with the NHSBA recommendation of not support. So it's really just those 2.
So it was number 4 and number 7 that didn't go as we.
Correct.
Right. Just
Yeah.
like that.
Thanks for taking the time to be there. Yeah, it was great. Nice opportunity. Thank you.
Okay. Oh, so that wraps that up, and we're on to the superintendent's report.
Yeah, so before the superintendent leads us off, the estimate of the fans at the football game, 2,000 is what somebody said. It could be 1,800 to 2,000. And as Board Member Johnson said, there was a great fan base for the Saturday games as well, because homecoming really is a 2-day event. So for me, it's one of my favorite days of the year, that Friday and that Saturday. And we had great weather for that. So thank you for your feedback and updating us on that. Assistant Superintendent Hines.
Sure. In section 1 under leadership and vision, the district, the various task force those meetings have begun. They either started in September or they will start in October to resume those meetings. And those task force are mainly made up of staff, and they are listed for those reoccurring meetings. In the second section for curriculum and instruction and assessment, our PLCs, which are professional learning communities, those have been meeting. And they are concentrating on ways to implement the read, write, and discuss across the district in all the content areas. The different grades have started their assessments on finding out where students are at academically, either with the Fastbridge or NWEA. So those have either started or have been completed. And teachers have been engaging in different trainings to deliver a multisensory approach for that reading and writing to meet students where they're at. At the high school, with the new F1 course, there are 24 students that are currently enrolled in taking that class, that elective.
Yay, Clary.
So under maintenance and capital improvements, we have some bad news about our food service van. It can't pass inspection. It's used to shuttle food between schools a couple of mornings a week, so it's not overly used. So for the short term, facilities is sharing their pickup truck so that we can keep moving the food about, and we're looking for another solution going forward. I've reached out to the USDA about possible grant funding. Those grants have already been awarded this year, so it's something that maybe we can limp through the rest of the year and find some funding for next year. But if anybody has a old van that they're not using,
I want to donate.
they want to donate it to the school, we'll be happy to accept.
Brand new one, take those.
Or a grant. I've reached out to the city to see if DPW has something that they're not using right now, or the PD or something. So we're working on it. Hopefully we'll find something. The hardwired locks at the 3 elementary schools have been ordered and will be installed as soon as the parts come in, so that then all of our schools will have the same type of security entry procedures. And Mr. Caruso and Mr. Champlin have been working closely with RFS to keep our renovation at the high school on track, and that's moving towards final approval. And I'll just keep on going on finance and operations. So my very first DOE 25 was submitted, and I haven't heard anything bad yet. So hopefully it's all good. So that was a big accomplishment for me. It was, I put a sign on my door that said, you know, unless the place is on fire, leave me alone. And that's kind of how it got done. Did you want to talk about the donations, Mr. Tucker? Or?
I can, sure. So we at the last budget and personnel meeting talked about a $1,000 Peter R. Marsh Foundation Middle School Music Grant that was applied for by our music team at the middle school. And the goal of that grant would be to replace some tired drums for the percussion section of the marching band. And I added just a blurb about what that the foundation is about, its commitment to support middle school music. Since then, there were 2 other donations that we wanted to put on the agenda for discussion and action. Don Fecto, who's a citizen of Laconia, wants to donate a router table, router bits, router and clamps in a combination of new and gently used items that would be used for the wood shop. The estimated value is approximately $1,500. And then Lowe's, with us starting a new wood shop program, we need wood. And Lowe's generously donated $1,500 worth of plain pine in various sizes and widths. It's 1x plain lumber they can use for a variety of projects in that. And so $1,500 will take us about halfway through the semester. And then we would come up with the other $1,500 through ESSER funds or through our budget to support the rest of that program. So for about $3,000, Lowe's covering half the cost of that is a great opportunity, and another example of people coming together. I mean, it's amazing that we have $3,000 worth of supplies in 2 weeks of starting a program with maybe even opportunity for more. Also want to talk about vouchers. So there's been some questions, I think, about vouchers with the educational freedom accounts. And so there were 91 educational freedom accounts or vouchers that were paid for by the Department of Education. And I think it's important that the public and the board knows that most of the educational freedom accounts are used for people who are already being homeschooled that are already in a private school setting. Diane talked to the department today and got a number of how many kids who actually went from public to a voucher, and that number was
7.4 of the 91. Just that.
So again, most of them are with us. Our enrollment is actually an increase Last we checked, it was 1,922 students, which is up about 60 students from last year. And just we put down the total amounts that were paid for those vouchers, just so you get a sense of what the costs were for the kids in Laconia. Remember that those don't come from our budget, but the adequacy for the kids who are no longer with us, those 7.4 students, we don't get that adequacy. So having you have a sense of if all the kids are entitled to with a voucher, the base adequacy, which is $3,786.66. And then if a child who's getting a voucher qualifies for other things like free and reduced, special education, English language learners, and third grade reading level below that, that's also differentiated aid that they would qualify for. So the grand total was $461,090 is what is being paid for the vouchers. So again, just trying to give the board some updated information about what the financial impact was in terms of Laconia. We also added a chart so you can see that in order to qualify for the voucher, you have to be the family has to be 300% below the federal poverty level, and the most recent numbers we had for that were the 2021 levels. And then we also provided some information of what it would take to qualify for free and reduced. And that's the most current updated. So that's not just for our free and reduced, but if you're going to get that differentiated aid for the voucher, that's the qualifying criteria for that. Any questions or comments about that?
So one thing I noticed, I called DOE because I was reading through all this and I wanted to kind of wrap my head around it. With that, the 7.4 students that we have, the nice thing is we still get funding for those 7.5 students, which equals almost $19,000 that we still get for the district with those kids choosing to do another learning path. We're still getting money for the district for almost $19,000.
Right, Diane, can you say a little more about that?
Sure. So the way it's calculated this year is 50% of what we would have received in adequacy aid for those students. And it's based on all the different things that the superintendent talked about. So the total amount that for those 7.4 was $37,947.85. You get 50% of that, which brought us down to the $18,973. That's this year. Next year, you get 25% of that. So that's.
So eventually it's a phase out.
It's a phase out.
Yeah. So you're not getting hit, which is good.
Right. So they had to have been in school in 2021 on the last day of school and then not come back for 21-22 is how that was calculated. And if they left for a while and came back, it was calculated on how many days during the year they were here. So
which is how you get the 0.4, because I asked the same thing.
Yeah.
How you get the 0.4 kid.
Right. You don't get a 0.4 kid, you get a 0.4 of the year.
Right.
Or it could be a combination of
right.
a fraction of the year.
Several things. Yeah.
Want to take students?
Sure. So in section 5 for students, we do have a list of various things that have happened across the district that are highlights for each school for you to review. And we also, just for an update for the after school opportunities and programming, we do have 259 students in 31 clubs at the elementary level. There's 78 students at the middle school in 13 programs, and there's 173 students at the high school in 23 programs. So that's about 1/4 of our students that are participating in these opportunities, which is a huge increase. It's wonderful. For fall sports, there's a chart that kind of compares the different years of the different numbers of participation and compares the last few years, but there is a 27% increase in fall sports compared to last year. That's great to see.
And then there was an increase in middle school, or the number of fraction of the kids who are in middle school sports. I think that we included that. Just as a comparison, so 126 LMS student athletes, which is almost 1/3 of the student enrollment. And that's about what it is at the high school. So when you think about the number of kids who are playing sports, the number of kids in project extra programming, and the number of kids in other co-curricular activities, a significant number of our kids are participating in programming after school, which is just amazing. Amazing that we have those opportunities and we have kids excited about those things. One thing that we did not add, we did not have something in there, anything in there about Elm Street School, so I wanted to add that our first grade had the Laconia Police Department come to talk to them about citizenship. There's a variety of experiences that connect our elementary kids with the community, and this is one of them. And the apple picking at Smith's Orchard is also often something that our kids do when there were kids at Elm Street and our other schools that went to Smith Orchard and picked apples, which I don't know if any of you have done that, but the apples are red and great to see.
I remember those days, we do apple pies or days.
Right, or cider donuts or whatever you want to do. The last part of the report is about communication and personnel. So the Hewlett Regional Tech Center has a regional advisory board that includes superintendents, principals, sometimes school counselors, and board members. And Dave Warner, the director, provided some information on enrollments. And the last time we met, I think we said on the first day of school, the enrollments were something like 380. Since then, the enrollment has moved up to 419. So that's a really solid number. There was a presentation done by the building trades and plumbing and heating teachers. They gave a presentation about tiny houses. And for the board, it's important for the boards to know that a conversation was had about Newfound joining the area agreement. So some of you who were on the board 3 years ago may remember that we piloted that. And the feeling was from the districts around us in the area agreement was that we needed to have some data to see what the enrollment trends were. Would there be room to have students from Newfound in? And what we found is that the enrollment in the Hewitt from Newfound started off as 6 or 7 kids, and it's upwards around 20 kids. And we have room for those kids. And our CTE director has done an amazing job with the support of the board of making sure that if we have programs that are growing, that we can support those. For example, the board last winter or spring approved an assistant to support the building trades and plumbing heating program. That allows us to have some more flexibility in having more kids. So with making accommodations like that, the RAB, the Regional Advisory Board, felt really good about having Newfound join that. So right now we're in conversations with the Department of Education to talk about how we're going to do that. And I think having Newfound gives us opportunities because we have kids. That means that we can run programs because we need kids to do that. And we've shown that we have been able to accommodate that. Wanted to mention that Kirk Riotti, the former fire chief, assumed his new job yesterday, as the city manager, and that Jim Joubert, somebody that we'll be reaching out to, will assume the role of the fire chief. And there was an article, I think, in the Sun about him. There was a lot of updates that the assistant superintendent talked about in the students report, but we've had some good numbers for PTO. So I think we talked about 18 being at Pleasant Street School or something like that. 14 at Woodland Heights. We're around 10 at Elm Street School. We're still working on the one at the middle school. So I'm really excited that we have parents who are really engaged with our schools. And as board member Brennan mentioned, we estimated that about 130 people went to the wellness fair, well attended. It typically happens during an event that's happening in the middle school. So this was a standalone event. And it was really exciting to see the director, Amy Gregoire, lead that effort with our social workers and other folks in our school community on that. The PLC meetings that the kindergarten team talked about was one example of how the PLCs are happening across district in the elementary. So that means that the teachers from all the grade levels are on a common team and they're getting together. It's an amazing opportunity. 9 interns working in our schools. And then wanted to let you know that Elizabeth Southard was hired as a part-time interventionist using ESSER funds. That was a position that was unfilled at the beginning of the year. And she'll work there in a part-time capacity. She's done an amazing resume of experiences that focus on working with kids and coaching teachers. So she's really excited to start. My understanding, I think she started on Monday, which is yesterday. And another example of how the board and the community have increased staffing to support kids during this time, which is great. That's all we have. Thank you.
Okay. Our items for discussion. First item up is the Peter R. Marsh Foundation Middle School Music Grant. Oh, great. Yes. That was easy. Okay, number 2, Lowe's LHS donation of fine.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Say yes. Okay. Hewitt Building Trades donation.
For anyone to part with building materials is amazing, so.
Yeah.
So thank you, Don.
Opportunity.
Yes. Yes. We appreciate it.
Very much appreciated.
Okay. Next, general public comment on items under discussion and action. In order to assure that persons who wish to appear before the school board may be heard and at the same time conduct its meetings properly and efficiently, the board has adopted policy BEDH. Oral statements can take up to 4 minutes per speaker. Assistant Superintendent Hines will keep the time. Any individual desiring to speak must be a resident of Laconia, parent, guardian of a student, or a staff member. Must give their name, address, and the group, if any, that is represented. Public comment may be accessed through Zoom. However, the chat feature has been disabled. Citizens attending via Zoom must signify their desire to speak by either raising their hand on camera or using the raise hand feature. Okay. Public comment for items on discussion and action. That would be the donations we just discussed briefly. Anyone on Zoom? I'm on Zoom. Anyone in the room? Okay. Our action items.
I make a motion to approve the Peter R. Marsh Foundation Middle School Music Grant as presented.
Johnson, in a second.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Passes 6-0. We have a motion for the Lowe's donation.
Make a motion to accept Lowe's donation as presented.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Unanimous 6-0. And the Hewitt Building Trades
Make a
donation.
motion to accept the donation for the Hewitt Building Trades donation as presented.
We have a second. No, by all means.
I'll second.
Okay. Any other discussion? All in favor? Okay, and that passes 6-0. General public comment. I've already read BEDH, or at least a summary thereof. So do we have anyone on Zoom who would like to participate in general public comment? I'm on Zoom. Do we have anyone in the room who would like to participate in general public comment? Okay. Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? We are adjourned.